Let's talk about what's being called an unprecedented decision now by the Competition Commission to block a transaction by Grand Parade Investments Limited, or GPI, to dispose of its investment in Burger King South Africa to a US private equity firm. It has South Africa's corporate and investment community up in arms. Corporate and black economic empowerment players were surprised by the Commission last week, prohibiting the sale of Grand Parade of its investment in Burger King South Africa to this US private equity firm for an estimated 500 million rand. Lelo Rantloane is chairman of the Southern African Venture Capital and Private Equity Association, or SAVCA. He joins us now. Very good evening to you, and thank you so much for taking the time. So the Competition Commission had formally blocked the process of Pan-African PE firm Emerging Capital Partners from purchasing fast food chain Burger King. So you and of course a Grand Food Meat plant. What was the rationale in terms of your understanding, the findings about the merger?
Yeah, so this ruling, it caused concern as a result of the fact that it was the first time that the Commission ruled negatively on public interest as it relates to black economic empowerment. It was unexpected, it was unfamiliar for this particular matter to be dealt with so decisively by the Competition Commission, and it cited reasons for failing the bid as a result of public interest in terms of the reduction of the BE score that would result from the transaction going ahead.
So just with regards to it not being justifiable on the substantial public interest, did you agree with it? Did you agree with the grounds, or what did you think? What could have been the other direction it could have taken?
Yeah. So, look, I think the question is not to say, was the Commission right or wrong? And I think we also must be careful not to be fighting BE legislation through the Competition Commissioner. I think that would be shooting the messenger, and I think there are other forums to do that. But I think what's important is that we need to understand the application of this law, and I think it's incumbent on industry bodies like ourselves to engage and perhaps debate with the Commissioner to understand how the Commission plans to quantify and deal with these public interest matters going forward, so that the industry can be better prepared and it's not a surprise when the industry deals with the Commission in future.
Okay, so Lelo, just saying that, so let's delve into that. You say you don't want to argue it, but you could share your views, certainly in terms of the greater spread of ownership. Section 12A, subsection 3E of the Competition Act, this is what it dealt with. What are the opportunities here? What are the challenges?
Yeah, so look, private equity and venture capital, in my view, are conduits to channeling investment into private assets that can make a real impact on growth for our country. And we're talking both local and international pools of capital here. So, FDI for us coming in through private equity is very important, and it's an important catalyst for growth and jobs. Some of the parameters that you would have seen that were being proposed in the deal. It obviously goes without saying that, FDI and our local pools of capital, for that matter, must adhere to the law, but I think there needs to be certainty around how that law is applied. Obviously the competing interests transformation is very important, and I think, us as an industry, it forms, certainly as an industry association, it forms one of the key pillars of our industry. In that not only is it a social imperative, it's a business imperative too. But as I mentioned, I think FDI coming in through private equity is a very important catalyst for growth and jobs. And therefore, it must be very carefully protected.
So had this merger been allowed, how would it have impacted, dented the unemployment rate, which now stands at 2.6%, and that obviously further exacerbated by COVID-19, which we're seeing now, we're seeing growing numbers. How could it have contributed in alleviating these?
Yeah, so I guess if we look firstly at the liquidity that the investment would have provided for Grand Parade Investments, who themselves are a BE player, and putting liquidity back into the hands of BE investors to go on and make other BE-related investments. And then secondly, I think, with the limited pools of capital, which was part of the rationale of the sale, was to accept and invite FDI, which would have enabled the asset to roll out more stores and create more jobs over the long run.
And speaking of long run, do you see this as precedent setting? Could it have long-term effects on people who are thinking of investing in the country?
Yeah, I think I'll repeat. I think it goes without saying that foreign pools of capital need to adhere to the laws of this country. I think it's incumbent on us as an industry, us as industry bodies, to engage with the Commission and understand how they plan to apply this law going forward. Because I think, with certainty will come the FDI, and I think it's only when things are a little bit uncertain and decisions are a little left field where people feel uncomfortable to coming to invest with us. But I think if we can engage and get more certainty around the issues and perhaps have some suggestions to the Commission, I think we can better help the industry prepare for these applications.
I know I'm pushing you to speculate, but in the meantime, while we await that certainty, could it have a discouraging effect on investment capital in this country?
To the extent that it's perceived as uncertain, it would certainly do so. In the short term, and that's why, again, that we need to engage as soon as possible. I mean, us as an industry body have made a formal request to the Commission to engage and try and resolve these matters as soon as possible.
Lelo, thank you so much for speaking to us. Lelo Rantloane is the chairman of Southern African Venture Capital and Private Equity Association, SAVCA.